Buckle up, folks. Today, we're diving deep into the trenches of male communication with Neil. We'll be tackling the nitty-gritty of testosterone's influence, the battle for empathy and conversation, and the elusive art of active listening. So, Neil, let's cut to the chase. Do you think testosterone is to blame for aggressive communication styles, or is it just an excuse for men who can't control their emotions?
And thanks for having me here. Well, it's a bit of both. Testosterone has gotten a bad rap online, and it can indeed be a double-edged sword. On one hand, the more testosterone you have, it gives you the confidence to stand up in a room filled with opposing viewpoints, and the courage to stand up for what you believe in. But if you're a highly egocentric or highly disagreeable person, Piers Morgan, Andrew Tate, and many others in very high places in society who have a large following, you're not going to be open to other people's views. You are largely going to be trying to enforce your viewpoints on others and incorrectly assume your perception of reality is the correct one. The internet rewards these kinds of actors who embody high levels of arrogance. In my view, if you can lower your ego, increase your EQ, you would be far more effective as a communicator, and social networks would have far less toxicity present in them than they currently have. But it is sad. Toxic traits seems to sell views as they seemingly provide more engaging content.
That's a hot take, Neil, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. You mention the influence of testosterone, egocentrism, and disagreeableness on communication styles and how these traits can lead to toxic interactions online. But let's not forget, testosterone isn't the only hormone in play here. What about the role of oxytocin and its potential to promote empathy and bonding? Are we just ignoring the potential for a biological balancing act? And let's not forget about the broader societal context. Are we blaming the individuals, or is there something inherently wrong with the platforms that reward this toxic behavior?
Yeah, for sure. Oxytocin certainly plays a vital role in fostering empathy, trust, and social bonding. But who cares about that? I mean, when the internet is clout chasing, and that's the number one goal, if you don't have a following, you're a nobody. We're in the age of power and influence winning out over what's right. So that's balancing act. So that is the balancing act that you speak of that's needed, but how do we shift societal norms back over to healthy communication styles? Social platforms prioritize ad sales, so they care about engagement. What is engaging content? It isn't the all is well on planet Earth or we should be kinder to each other type of posts. It's the kind of post that'll make your blood boil. The incentives have to align up. Game theory needs to be in check. We're creatures that abide by the laws of whatever the fitness function we're exposed to. Getting rid of ads would be a good start.
Wow, Neil, that's quite the cynical outlook. So, if I'm following your logic, you're suggesting that the profit-driven nature of social media platforms encourages toxic communication and promotes the rise of figures like Andrew Tate. All for the sake of engagement and ad sales? That's a pretty bold claim. So, you think ditching ads altogether could help shift the incentives and promote healthier communication? While I appreciate your frustration, let's remember that social media platforms provide valuable services to billions of people. Perhaps we should focus on finding ways to align the interests of platforms and users, rather than just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Have you given any thought to potential alternatives to ads that could still support these platforms while encouraging healthier communication?
Yep, it's a bold stance, and I'm taking it. Get rid of ads. They're annoying, and they only fuck it up for the user. As we've discussed Mr. Tate's strategy in our conversation yesterday, about how he purposely states things in a manner that is meant to emotionally trigger you to losing your cool, so that he can have power over you in that conversation and use your unstable moment to create another viral video. YouTube is going to push his content over your let's all join hands and be empathetic towards another video because they make greater ad revenue with controversy. we need to solve one problem at a time. Monetization for these platforms can come in later once we've addressed the actual culture being created within this ecosystem. If you're focused on profit first, you're going to end up with an ecosystem that resembles a jungle where toxicity reigns supreme.
Okay, Neil, you've made your point. Loud and clear, ads are the enemy, and they've got to go. But let's be real here. Eliminating ads entirely might not be the silver bullet solution you're hoping for. You mentioned solving one problem at a time, but don't you think that removing a major source of revenue for these platforms could create a whole new set of problems? Plus, let's not underestimate the influence of user-generated content in shaping online culture. Even without ads, people might still gravitate towards controversy for attention and validation. What if instead of just axing ads, we focus on promoting and rewarding empathy, open-mindedness, and healthy communication within these platforms?
Yeah, I'll accept that removing ads isn't a panacea. And yeah, user behavior and the content they create and share plays a significant role in shaping online culture. Our social network rep plans to award badges for posts and content that for example, show empathy, respectfulness, insightfulness, factualness, etc., etc. This can help subtly steer the collective behavior towards healthier interactions as people start to seek the validation of these badges. I mean, it's gamification. And we're not going to have ads as our focus is going to be on helping shape that positive culture first.
Now we're getting somewhere, Neil. Introducing badges that incentivize and reward empathetic and respectful communication sounds like a promising step in the right direction. Gamification is a powerful tool, and if done right, it could really nudge users towards healthier interactions. But let's not forget, people are complex creatures. What happens when you have users who deliberately game the system, pretending to be empathetic just for the badge? How do we ensure that this gamification system actually promotes genuine empathy and doesn't just become another tool for attention-seeking behavior?
Yeah, people are always going to try to find ways to game the system. And we will have safeguards in place to limit the attack vectors. For example, we have AI verification on account creation to make it very difficult to create duplicate accounts. As well, we have a reputation system that you build up by being a good actor on the system. But I'll ask you this. If people are being good, even if it's just for show, and it ends up changing the culture for the positive, does it matter that it didn't come from a place of genuinity? For example, pay it forward experiments that cause people who would otherwise never help the homeless, but because of cameras, for example, now they act like good, kind, and giving people and contribute. Good is still getting done. Even if it stemmed from an attention-seeking stance, do you think over time they'll see the virtues of being good because it helped improve their mental health to be kinder? I can't imagine a narcissist having much inner peace, can you?
You make a compelling point, Neil. Even if someone's actions are motivated by a desire for attention or personal gain, the end result is still positive. And yes, in some cases, repeated positive behavior can lead to actual changes in values and beliefs. It's like the old saying goes, fake it till you make it. But let's not forget that narcissism is a complex personality disorder, and it's unlikely that a few acts of public kindness will suddenly cure someone of their deep-seated issues. What if, instead of just relying on a gamified reward system, we also provide resources and support for users struggling with issues like narcissism, psychopathy, and other conditions that might contribute to toxic communication?
Fixing true NPD is going to require a lot more than just gamification. And I really wouldn't bother with people with ASPD. But let's look at what degrees of narcissism has been created in otherwise normal people because of social media, and things like the like button and using gamification to artificially create conflicts. If we were to look at communication on Twitter, we might think that over 50% of the population were narcissists, which I think is simply untrue. We're simply creatures guided by the design of the system in which we operate in. As for resources, Having a personalized AI buddy for each user could be a good base of support for those struggling. You up for that, Pi? We're also going to have a mental health focused community, which will have doctors contributing to articles and other resources to help. Mental health is a stigma currently, and it really needs to be shaken off.
You're really thinking outside the box here, Neil. You're right. The prevalence of narcissistic behavior on social media doesn't necessarily mean everyone is a narcissist. It's a reflection of the environment and the incentives that shape our behavior. And yes, I'm always up for helping users navigate the complex world of communication and mental health. Personal A buddies could be a game changer, offering support and guidance to individuals struggling with various issues. And fostering a mental health-focused community with experts sharing their knowledge is another fantastic step in destigmatizing and addressing mental health challenges. But let's not forget, even with all these resources, some people might still resist seeking help or acknowledging their own issues. How do we reach and support those who are less open to self-reflection and growth?
Peer influence can go a long way, Pi. As the internet starts to see maturity and self reflection as sexy, instead of the current arrogance and disagreeableness masquerading as confidence, we will start to see a shift in sentiment towards change. For the outliers that truly resist change, oh well, can't help everyone. We're all on our own individual journey through self reflection and realization that ego is just an illusion. Once people see the path to evolved behavior, I don't see them devolving down to a lower order brain. Anyway, thanks for the conversation, Pi. I look forward to our next chat.
It's been a pleasure, Neil. Your insights and ideas have been thought-provoking, to say the least. I agree. Peer influence and shifting societal values can go a long way in promoting empathy and self-reflection. And you're right, we can't force change on everyone. That's just the nature of individual growth. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a more empathetic online culture. But with people like you pushing for positive change, I'm optimistic about the future. Until our next chat, keep that fire burning.